Hey gang, Rodin here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another edition of Suckerpunch Sunday. And for this week, because we started ourselves down a little bit of an anime-themed thread last week with the original Fist of the North Star for the NES, I decided we're going to jump ahead into the 90s and the 16-bit generation and play a game that I've actually never tried before, but the subject matter is a anime I know far too well. We're going to play Ranma 1/2 Hard Battle. And what we're going to do over the course of the next half an hour is we're just going to see how well this game has aged and how well it is held up. Now, if you're not familiar with the original anime of Ranma 1/2, on the one hand, I wouldn't be surprised because it is an anime that came out in the 90s, and it was one that my sister was really into. And a lot of my friends who were getting an anime at that time found, and it was actually one of the first anime that I knew of that I had friends who were capable of cosplaying as it. Now, obviously cosplay is quite standard here in the, in circa 2023. 30 years ago, not so much. So, as you see, it is built around having 10 characters that you can play through. And we're just going to go ahead and we are going to take Ranma, who is the central character in this game. His name is Ranma Saotome. And the idea behind this game is that Ranma is in trouble at his school. Because his grades are failing. So what the principal tells him is that if he can get through 8 opponents, he will get passing grades, and he doesn't have to take an exam for the subjects that he's not doing well at. And Ranma, being a prodigal martial arts student, basically says, sure. Now, why do they call this anime Ranma 1/2? It's because when Ranma and his family would go to China to train in their martial arts styles, and where they would go is they would go to a sacred part of the country that was dominated by enchanted springs. And what happened is that Ranma was fighting his dad Genma, and they both fell into a spring. Ranma fell into one where it was the spring of the drowned girl, which means whenever he's hit with cold water, he turns from a black-haired male into a red-haired female. His dad, Genma Saotome, fell into a pool that turns him into a panda. Which, if you saw when we were doing the character select screen, the fact that we had a panda to choose from means we could, in theory, take Genma. Now, how this game works is pretty straightforward as far as a fighting game goes. You have your punch, you have your kick, and you have your jump. And depending on what combination of that and the controls you use, you can pull various moves off. But other than that, it is a classic 2D side-scrolling fighting game. As we take Gus and Cookie down. Now, it will be hard, I will tell you right now, to keep track of who all the characters are in this game, because the creator of Ranma 1/2, Rumiko Takahashi, who was a name that I remember hearing very, very early in my teens when I was getting back into anime. I actually got into anime when I was 5, 6 years old, before a lot of people in the US knew what it was called or what it was. All we knew was that the cartoons that we were seeing every Monday morning or every weekday morning before we went to school were a lot different than watching the old Looney Tunes cartoons or Scooby-Doo. Uh-oh. Ghost and Cookie can almost take me out here. There, we got him. Now, you will notice that in this game, there isn't a timer on these fights, which makes it a little bit different because it's means you get a little bit more time to develop a play style and attack each opponent a little bit differently. So Ranma receives credit for his PE class. And we'll see who he fights next. He has to fight the Casino King, which is a character that whooped, and he just came out the gun, came out swinging. And he took us out on that one. So again, first fight goes to the opponent. Now, by and large, the attacks in this game are fairly basic. If you're looking for something that is along the lines of a Street Fighter type game, or even more of a modern fighting game, you're obviously going to be disappointed. Part of the fun of this game is that if you know the anime and you know the absurdity of the stories that Rumiko Takahashi put together, and they were fairly absurd. Like, for example, Ranma has, as a boy, Ranma has 3 separate fiancés. He has Akane, he has Ukyo, and he has Shampoo the Amazon. So, I mean, being a truly gender-bending anime, which was very ahead of its time in 1996, and wow, we took him down really easy in that last fight. You know, Ranma very much was an anime of the absurd. So now we get credit for math class. Now, I do notice that it takes a while for these to load after each fight. Oh, now we have to fight our girlfriend Akane. And Akane is the member of a rival school, so she is a good fighter and not to be taken lightly. And Akane actually did not know that Ranma was a boy until she saw him come out of a hot pool, because cold water turns him into a girl. Now, when this game came out, and again, it was released in 1993, as Akane just proceeds to wipe the floor with us. So Ranma must endure makeup test madness. Now, do we get a continue? Yes, we do. So the game was by and large well received. Like console and video games gave it an 81 out of 100. EGM gave it a 38 out of 50. Ah! Did not expect her to be able to throw me like that. And in the years since its release, the reviews have been predominantly mixed, but this game is definitely a cult game, in that it's got such a following that it's been revived and brought back at modern fighting game tournaments like EVO Japan 2018. So you figure by that point it was a 25-year-old game and people still wanted to play it. We finally got Akane on that one, otherwise she was tearing us apart. On the list of all-time great games for the Super Famicom system, which is the Japanese version of the Super NES, Ranma 1 Half Hard Battle came in 41st. And Akane still took us down. And Hard Battle sold more than nearly 50,000 copies according to its first week, as it was designed to really capitalize on the fighting game boom of the early to mid 1990s. Now, if there's a criticism about this game, it is that because the controls are basic, trying to pull off special moves is not easy. Like, there is no quarter turn fireball and whatnot, as Akane just completely demolished us. But the other thing is that people kind of rag on the art style, but they also ragged on the art style for both the manga and the anime. And they ragged on it because they said that by and large, Rabiki Takahashi could only draw characters one way, and they all looked the same. Well, maybe so. I grew up watching, like I said, I grew up watching Super Robot anime, and all of Go Nagai's characters, more or less, aside from their geometrically awkward hairdos, all look the same. Now, Katsushiro Otomo, as great as anime creator as there ever was, you can argue that all his characters look the same. You can even make the argument but, you know, the reality is that that's part of an animator's style. If you're looking for something that is so diverse and does not have that style, good luck finding it. You know? Hayao Miyazaki is a consummate anime storyteller as there ever was. He's a definitive grandmaster of it. And yes, he is great at creating incredibly fantastical worlds. But if you look at the way his characters are designed, from Nausicaa Valley of the Wind through Princess Mononoke to Spirited Away and so on, they all share character commonalities in terms of how they're designed. That's not a slight against Miyazaki in any way, shape, or form. It's how you know you're watching a film that he created. So I think it's really easy to get caught up in the idea that, oh, well, because an anime creator makes characters that only look one way, that they can't do anything. It's not like the Rob Liefeld who can't, you know, who famously could not draw feet and drew completely disproportional characters, and for all of his contributions to American comic books, did a lot to undermine all that, just as much as he did to get my generation more into them. But in that respect, you could also make the argument that Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee were far more important artists to the medium at the same time. But Liefeld was the good-looking poster kid who everybody was like, "Oh wow, he's the Wunderkind." But history has not been nearly as kind to him, despite that. All right, Akane, I got to take you down here. This is getting. So with her, it's a matter of she's very aggressive. And she still took us down. She gives us the throw, and man, she just hits so hard. Alright, we finally got through her. It's 16 minutes. We still got one more match to go. So we gotta bait her into attacking is really what we gotta do. Do not let her throw us. Which she did right there. Oh, and she got us. Alright, well, we're halfway through, and we weren't able to get past Akane. I think what we're going to do is we're going to change this up. And we're going to pick a different character. Because I could continue to throw myself at Akane, and Ranma was not really a big fan of trying to do that in the anime. So let's see. I can go for Ryoga, or I can go... Let's go Ranma-chan. So, this is Ranma when he is a girl. So now, let's see if we can go through the same thing, because it's still him trying to get out of taking the classes. Now, Ranma-chan is faster than her male counterpart, but she's not as strong. And now we are able to take down Gonsun Kugi. I don't know why I have a hard time being able to get that name out. Probably because he's hitting me in the head with a hammer, and I'm at this point feeling not too unconcussed. Throw him again, and that takes him down. And now we have to fight Ukyo, who is one of Ranma's other fiancés. And if I didn't know any better, we're fighting on a giant skeleton. So, I mean, it is... And she's hitting us with a spatula. So, if you can come into a game like this understanding the absurdity of it, or being willing to embrace the absurdity of it, it kind of outdoes the basicness of it. You know, like how I'm pretty sure... It sounds like when Ranma does that special move where you get multiple fists flying, it sounds like her saying, I'm a booty cat. So take that however you want. So we get through first match with her, we're up one, or we're all square at 1-1. And it's the throws that you really got to look out for. If you can execute the throws, then that's great. If you're on the receiving end of throws, they take so much life out of you. And just like that, we're toast. Literally, as we're sitting on a hot skillet. So I didn't get very far with her. So let's shake this up a little bit more, and I'm going to go for who is probably my favorite character in the entire story. And that's Ranma's dad, Genma. Because Genma, he's an interesting guy. Whenever he finds himself in trouble, he douses himself with water to turn into a panda, because that way he feels like he can get out of his trouble, because nobody bothers a panda. And the Saudame clan, when they realize that's who he can turn into, because he just likes to sulk and brood as a panda, they just call him the family pet. So if you want to teach your son respect, start with his peers first. So Genma has to go and rough Ranma's friends up in order to get Ranma to be able to excel in school. He's one of the strongest characters in the game, but he is quite slow. And I have to fight Ukyo first. Now, he obviously can't jump, and he's not going to be very fast. But something Genma does have is that he has a sign that when he's in panda form, he will write stuff down on. And then very, very often, he will just hit somebody with it. Often, it was Ranma who was on the receiving end. Because Ranma is, in both male and female guises, they are the butt of the joke more often than not. Or they're on the receiving end of a supplementary character's angst. Now, it has been a very, 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 very long time since I watched episodes of Ranma 1/2. I never read the manga. But the anime club that I belonged to in the early to mid-90s, and I do have very, very fond memories of my time in that group. It was called Northern Oregon Vancouver Anime, or NOVA for short, because that makes quite the good acronym. We were the sort who we would hang out at the local community center, because we could rent a space, and we would bring our VCRs that our parents didn't want us to be able to utilize, and pop in blank VHS tapes and make like third or fourth generation bootlegs of all the anime that nowadays you can find on Amazon and any reputable website. When Suncoast Video was still a thing, which was a store that I worked for, it was oh, now I get to fight Ranma-chan, so okay. But you know, I watched how big the anime section grew pretty much overnight. Oh, he's got the E Honda face slap. As if he has it with a paw. Alright, oh! So Ranma-chan does have a fireball. But I'll be danged if I know how to throw it. As Ranma-chan just easily took us out. But I very much should go back and watch Ranma 1/2. By modern standards, it is very tame. Even though it does have your usual, you know, being an anime, there is some stuff that the parents may not necessarily like if you're a kid watching this, but like a bamboo in winter, Genma was completely devoid of protective foliage. Okay. Don't necessarily know the underlying meaning of that, but alright, we got 5 minutes left. So let's try with one more character here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take let's try Ryoga. Ryoga Hibiki is like Ranma's rival in terms of being a fighter. And when he gets doused in water, he turns into a pig, if I remember it right. A very, very small pig. But like many anime second bananas, he is emotionally volatile, and everything that Ranma does drives him up the wall because to him, he thinks himself the better man and the better fighter and all that stuff. Not in a vicious way, but in a histrionic and melodramatic way of how is it that Akane and Ukyo and Shampoo can be in love with this twerp when I'm clearly the better fighter, and you know, I just need to be able to prove myself and they'll see. One of these days I'll show them. That's Ryoga. So he's very high strung, and as a fighter he is also very good. And you see he fights with a parasol. Which is something you may need with a guy with a hammer who's taped his eyeballs open and has candles on his head. I don't know the backstory of Ghost and Kugi, just like I don't know the backstory of the Casino King. If anything, that just gives me incentive to go and start watching copies of Ranma 1/2 again and get caught up in the story. Because again, it's been 30 odd years. I should give it a watch. I know my sister would greatly approve of me doing that. Not that I go out of my way to garner such approval, but... See, when Ryoga loses, he has such a fit, he breaks down and cries. Because to him, the idea of losing is just unheard of. So in order to pull the special moves off, as I'm finding out, you have to hit both your punch and kick button at the same time. That's how you're able to summon that fireball. So we get through Ghost and Kugi, and now we have to fight Akane. Which, much like if Ranma was fighting Akane, as we did earlier, this would not be fun for Ryoga to do at all, because he's very much is pining for Akane, but Akane is engaged to Ranma. So whatever Ryoga can do to facilitate mucking that up and get Akane to want to be with him, he'll do it. But of course, this being an action comedy, he will do it in the most ridiculous, absurd way possible. I'm getting too reliant on that fireball. And it doesn't matter because Akane takes us out. But we're at half an hour anyway, so that, everybody, in a nutshell, is Ranma 1/2 Hard Battle from 1993 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Is it a good fighting game? If you're going by modern standards, no. Again, the controls are very rudimentary. There's not a whole lot of spit and polish on it. It's as basic a game as you could probably hope for. Is it a bad game? Well, again, that depends. If you want to have something that has a fun anime story to it, this might be something that could be interesting to you. Does it have the most in-depth story? No. But that's not what fighting games are about. Fighting games are about taking characters that you know and characters that you like and putting them in situations where you just beat the snot out of them. In that regard, it's no different than Street Fighter 2 versus Marvel or Mortal Kombat or any other game like that. It just is a question of what your preference is. If I had more time and was able to get a little bit more into it. Is it a game that I could beat? Probably. I would say that the difficulty curve by the time you get 3 or 4 characters in does go up, but that's not different than any other fighting games at the time either, where the first 2 kind of warm you up, and then the real fight starts once you're about a third of the way in. So, you know, give it a try. Maybe it's a game you like. Maybe it's a game you look at and go, this is just, it's too basic, it's too simplistic, whatever. But, again, this was both to highlight the game and go back and revisit an anime that was very well known to me in my formative years, and is very much through as much of a lens of nostalgia than anything else. So if you've enjoyed that, and I do hope you have, best way to show it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, ring the bell to be notified of the latest content. Remember, we do have our ongoing playthrough of the original Diablo for the PS1, with new episodes coming up again starting tomorrow. We are, I believe, on episode 10 of that series, and we're still only about, I'd say, roughly halfway through the game. So there is a ways to go, and that's been a lot of fun. So be sure to spread the word about us and follow us on Instagram and Threads at Ronin's Retrocade. Faster we hit 100 subscribers, the sooner we unlock the YouTube customization algorithm, and we can continue to make this channel bigger and better. Special shout out, as always, I do every week, to the new subscribers who have checked my pokey little channel out. Your patronage and your subscriptions are much appreciated, as it gives me the confidence to know that I know what I'm doing, and the motivation to keep making this channel better as we go forward. And as always, if there's a game you would like to see us feature from the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, SNK Neo Geo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2, leave it in the comments below or drop me a line on Instagram and Threads. Give me any game from those consoles you want. As always, my name is Ronin. It's been great to spend this Suckerpunch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, stay cool out there. It is still very hot in the world, and we will talk to you tomorrow as we carry on with our playthrough of the original Diablo. Bye!